And we are live.
Live.
Welcome everybody. I think that we already have like 14 people live, which is a record.
Amazing.
So I think that the topic today that we have today, it's really interesting for a lot of us. So welcome again to one of our rapid fire Q&A sessions. We are super happy to have the guest that we have today. I'll introduce him in just a minute, but I'll give a couple of minutes for people to join. In the meantime, as you already know, my name is Ignacio. I'm part of the Kiflo team. I'll be your host today. And I've got Tom from also the Kiflo team. He'll be moderating everything related to your questions and everything that can be sorted out in the chat. So, in the meantime, while we wait, maybe you can give us a quick kind of like idea of where you're tuning in today. So just put it in the chat. Again, if this is the first time that you join, the format is going to be super kind of like fast paced, but also we encourage you to ask questions so that our guests will answer those during the session, not at the end, but during the session. We'll have a lot to cover, but please ask questions so that those get answered. And if you're watching the recording, please join live the next one so that you have the chance to ask questions. Okay. So I think that we have around 15 people already, which is great. Maybe we give it 1 minute and then I'll introduce. So someone from Rachel from Denver. Nice.
Hi,
Another.
Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
A cyclone as well. So good to see you.
Oof.
We'll have to connect.
Nice. Uh, cool. Okay, so we got 16. Let's give 1 more minute and then we can actually start the conversation. Cool. Well, I think that we can start because we have a lot to cover today. So today we have a friend of the house again, Patrick Ferdig. He has been a partner of us and a friend of Kiflo. He's the founder of the Power of Partnering, and we call him Pat. I think that everyone calls him Pat.
Works for me.
So you can call him. Is that okay with you, Pat?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. And so with his business, basically, Pat helps a lot of B2B companies with their go-to-market strategy and implementations, especially with partner-centric. So, Pat, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you again for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Nacho, Tom, good to see you guys. Thanks for
Good to see you
inviting
too.
me. Certainly an interesting topic. Hopefully we get some good conversation going here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know,
It,
it's just one point in time, right? Everything is moving pretty fast around this stuff, but it's it's a great opportunity for folks to kind of dig in and see where they're at with current state of play in using AI and some agents in their workflows.
Yeah, no, it's certainly a great topic. We didn't want to kind of like, this is not going to be like the usual kind of like stuff that you see out there. This is stuff that Pat has actually implemented for their clients. So that's super important to understand because it also it's focused on stuff that he sees and also stuff that it applies to partnerships. So I think that we can take it now. So the topic of course, is AI isn't replacing partnership pros; it's actually empowering them. I think that pretty much everyone is looking at this, regardless of your job or position. So the first topic, and maybe we can now launch the. So the first subtopic, Tom, it's going to be what is an AI agent, and we will deep dive into that. So Pat will explain a lot of what he has been doing, but maybe we can start with the polls so we know exactly kind of like where you are at. So to what level are you incorporating AI in your partner program today? So partially like getting there, using some AI, you're having testing it, or not at all, you don't know exactly how to do it, or fully incorporated, basically you're an AI agent. So give us an idea of where you're at so that Pat can also have an idea where you are today.
Don't be shy,
Nacho,
cast your vote.
yeah,
Sorry.
Nacho, Tom, how about you guys? What's kind of the state of play
I
for
can
you
vote.
guys in your
Yeah,
roles?
no,
Yeah,
we have been using it. I think that Tom, well, you have been using it more than I, but I
for
think
sure.
that usually for outreach as well, we use it quite a lot. So yeah, it has been something that we want to incorporate more. So certainly we've been testing stuff, but it seems like, yeah, the audience pretty much using some AI at some point and some not at all yet. So now partially I think that 50% it's testing. So that gives you an idea.
Yeah.
Anton, what he say?
Yeah.
We love you, Anton. Cool. So all yours, but you can take it now from this one. What is
All
an
right.
AI agent?
That's good. That's good. We'll run through that. But yeah, I think the poll is pretty indicative of, kind of current state of
Yes.
AI and using it. Everyone's experimenting at some level, but it gets harder to incorporate, the tools and the technology into your existing workflow and really adding value. And that's really where I see AI agents come into play, right? So for me, there's a handful of criteria that make up an agent. Number one, is there, an LLM? Is there an AI application under the hood somewhere amplifying the work that I'm doing? That is the first item that indicates whether I'm doing something in an agentic way or not. Number two, is it something that's triggered in an existing workflow that I or my clients are using, right? Is it within the existing tools and technologies and frameworks that they're using today, and is it augmenting that process? I hit the wrong button there. And then it's true in my mind, an agent doesn't require me to enter prompts along the way. An agent should have captured, some prompts that I am reusing, but I'm not sitting down and writing prompts along the way, right? That's, going to slow down the process. That's not really agentic. That's not really, augmenting my workflow. It's just interrupting my workflow as I'm going back and forth, between a chat bot. Is it doing work for me? Is it helping me do the things that I need to do better, faster, or cheaper? Is it allowing me to do things at scale that, if I had to do them manually, would be done differently or less effectively or less scale? So that's something to keep in mind. And for me, really, it comes down to, is it generating output that is in the right place and in the right format? Meaning, an agent isn't going to make me copy and paste, and swivel chair from one application to the next. So a real agent or an augmented workflow should create that content and that process throughout, the format and put it in the format that I need it to be in ultimately, without making me do a lot of copying and pasting. Does that make sense?
It does make sense and it's super
Definitely
clear.
makes sense.
Again, if anyone has questions related to what Pat just explained, please put it in the chat. And I think that now you're going to deep dive, right?
Yeah, let's go into the first use case here. So this one was really a proof of concept that I did. I'm using a tool called agent.ai. It's really kind of a fun interface. It's from the CTO of HubSpot. He's kind of got the side application going on as a research experiment. The thing I like about it, it was really easy to get started. It's really structured in allowing you to kind of create an agent. But it really, for me, was more of a proof of concept application. And really easy to set up, really easy to get it going. It can be worked into a workflow, and it can be a tool that you can leverage for some AI agents. But really, it was a good place to kind of dip my toe in and start with some proof of concepts.
Nice.
And this is what it looks like. If you go to agent.ai, you can create an account. You can use their agent builder to create your own agent. This one's super simple. I'm just taking profiles from two companies, the Power of Partnering in this case, and Kiflo, and I'm putting in a form data about or input about these two companies, and then I'm clicking a button, and it is generating for me a joint value proposition. not super complex. Obviously, it's a form. Maybe that's an interface or a trigger that I would use, if I've got a form on my website that somebody wants to fill out and request to be a partner. But again, this was really just a proof of concept for me. But under the hood, there is a prompt that I've written that says, here's the type of output that I want. Here's the things I want you to consider. Here's the research I want you to go out and do. And here's the output format that I want it to come back into, right? So in this case, it's, the format's here in the browser, and I didn't create a fancy output. But agent.ai is getting a little bit more interesting over time and a little bit more sophisticated. So it really could be a tool to use in your workflow to create some agents. But this is what it looks like when you create that. Really simple, step-by-step, formulaic, all the inputs that I had. The pink one down below is where I'm using the AI LLM 01, in this case, OpenAI 01. And then it's, it got a stored prompt that I said, here's all the input that I've given you. Here's the context, the role you're playing. Here's the step-by-step process. And here's the format I want for the output. So that, really simple use case there. But, kind of proof of concept and a tool that I can use. For me, it was interesting because I could publish it and share it with the world. I actually did a LinkedIn post on this and shared it and got some use, and I could see people coming in and using the tool. But just a good example of, the type of workflow that you can enable through an agent framework. So is it an LLM amplified? Yeah, it's got a stored LLM prompt, and it's reusing that over time. Is it triggered in a workflow? I'm using a form to kick things off. You could use other triggers to initiate the agent along the way. It didn't need me to create a prompt every time I use the tool, so it fits that criteria. Is it doing work for me? Yeah, it's creating that joint value proposition based on the prompt that I put together. And the thing that's nice about it is it's reusing that same prompt over and over. So I will get consistent output for that joint value proposition rather than me, going over to, a chat bot and putting in a prompt on the fly and say, hey, create a joint value proposition for this company for me, because that's going to vary over time and I'm going to get different output because I'm going to prompt a little bit differently every time. So this is doing work for me. And it's generating an output, right? I'm probably copying and pasting this at this stage, but again, just kind of a proof of concept.
That's perfect. And do you think that this will, for you, how do you see like evolving this into like clients, for instance, work?
Yeah, again, I don't know if I would choose agent.ai to really incorporate this, but I actually, got some examples a little later where I've actually built into a real world workflow where I'm generating that joint value proposition and capturing it in a location where it's going to be more valuable to me.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Perfect.
keen to see that one. I think that Rachel wants the LinkedIn post, so we'll
Yeah.
find it and Tom will share it with you in the chat.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't have
really
it
good.
teed up,
Yeah.
but we'll put it in the chat later.
It's a really good post. Cool. Again, if you have any questions related to
Yeah.
this, please put them in the
Don't be
chat.
shy. I feel like you're shy today. Don't be shy. Patrick is
We'll
here
apply it in the
to
chat.
answer all of your
We
questions.
know that it
Put them in the
could be
chat.
something that it's a little bit intimidating. Because we actually we are all, as Pat said, we are all kind of like exploring. It's just like testing, so it's totally fine. We are with you. So we have a second example, right? The IPP
Yeah.
assessment.
Yeah, so moving from the proof of concept world into an actual application that I built and leveraged for one of my clients. Toolkit here, we're using Zapier tables. We're using a new tool, Relevance AI, another agent framework that I've been using that I like quite a bit. And the use case here was, we had a list of potential partners. I was working with a client. They were formalizing their partner program for the first time. Really what we had was a list of logos and links on the website that said, these are our partners, but they were hiring a partner manager for the first time, didn't have a lot of background on who these partners were, and how to prioritize them. And so the first thing we did was create an IPP, right? Went through the process that, most folks go through to understand who the ideal partner is. And that's a valuable process for anybody to create that IPP. But really where the rubber meets the road is, how do I leverage that IPP? How do I take that profile and apply it in a meaningful way to get good output from that and get meaningful content and get meaningful guidance on how I might engage with a partner or a potential partner? So that's really what we were looking for here. We developed the IPP, and then we had a list of partners that we wanted to profile and score against that IPP to give us some guidance on how we were going to engage with those partners moving forward. So here's Relevance AI. Really nice interface. You can develop, multiple different agents. And so you can see here, I've got I also prototyped the joint value proposition and just doing some account profiling. And then the IPP agent that I created here for this particular use case. And so when you create an agent under this tool, you give it a name, you give it a description, and then really where it becomes a little more agentic in my mind is where you're actually incorporating triggers, again, with tools that you're using every day, whether it's your email, whether it's your CRM system. It can be a recurring schedule, something you want to happen every day. But again, this is something that's going to be incorporated into my workflow and into my existing technology stack, and it's being triggered at a certain point in time, and starting to do that work that I need done at a certain trigger point. And then the other thing that's really interesting is you get into more of the true agentic frameworks. It's a lot of tools, and if you're giving tools to your agents, you're becoming much more agentic. You're actually giving these agents more autonomy. And a lot of folks, again, I'm not an AI researcher. I'm just trying to find the best way to use these tools for my clients and in my business and in my partner program. And a lot of folks will say, well, agents have to have autonomy and they have to change with their environment and react. I think it's less or more simple at this stage than that. I think it's if you can give them and define tools and give them a little bit of autonomy, you're kind of on the leading edge of what an agent looks like. Then you give the core instructions to the agent, and this again is where you're defining the context and the role and the output, and that's where you can start to use and leverage the tools that you've set up. So you can see here I'm telling it use the knowledge retrieval tool to go out and pull in the IPP definition that I've defined. Go out and start to search information, or go out and do a Google search and then look at the content of the pages from the Google search and start to put together that profile for that partner, and then start to evaluate that partner against the IPP that we've put together. And so then the other part of the tool, so we put together all the data about these partners that we wanted to profile, and I use Zapier tables for that. We were taking all of the information we knew about these partners, and then we were enriching that data through a couple of different tools and some other LLM augmented workflows, but gathering as much as data, objective and subjective data about this partner. And then we just clicked the button and we said, kick off the agent and run this assessment. And it did two things. One thing you can see here on the right-hand side, it actually calculated an IPP score. So within our IPP definition, we not only had the profile, but we also had a rubric to assess and create a score for the partner. And now, relatively, we can start to look at these partners and say, okay, how do we prioritize how we're going to outreach these partners? And that score gives us some ability to do that. And the interesting thing here, you can actually see and you can dive into and observe the agent as it's going through the process and see the tools that it's using as it's generating the output. And then in this case, we had it generate the score and upload it to the spreadsheet. And then we also created a report. and an assessment for each partner. So at the end of the day, we had 35 reports that were in-depth, deep research on each of these partners that our new partner manager could then come in and say, okay, this is what the research that's been done for me. I know, this is the background that I need as I'm setting up some of these initial calls with these potential partners. So really valuable. And again, we generated 35 of these really quickly, and that would have taken a long time if we were doing that by hand, and if we were doing it manually. So again, this tool was relevance.ai was the agent.
People are raving in the chat about this, but I think that, and I think I agree with all of them. This is super interesting. I had a follow-up question for you. Like, how did you teach the model for the score? Did you put like the prompt, or how was it done?
Yeah, so as part of the IPP that we put together, there's a description of, here's what we're looking for the partners and the regions and the skills and all of that, kind of a standard IPP. But there was also a table that I created within the IPP that said, here's how we want to assess the partners. And again, it was up to the LLM to decide and score. But the nice thing about it is, because we gave it a consistent framework and a consistent prompt, it might not be exactly right on each individual one, but relatively, when we look at those numbers against each other, it gave us some priority for those partners. And that was really valuable when it came to, this might not be exactly right in whether this partner scores this well or that well, but relatively against each other, it gave us some really good prioritization.
That's brilliant. And I think that Rachel, well, Tom, I don't know if you want to read that comment, but I think that this is where most PMs struggle with, and we can relate with this, and it adds a lot of value. And I think that not only time saving, but also what you were describing there, because I think that Rachel has a point there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, creating an IPP is a great exercise, but utilizing that IPP in your partner program after the fact, is even more valuable.
Yeah, totally agree.
Definitely.
All right, we'll keep moving forward here.
I don't know if there are any other questions before we move into the next one. So if you do have questions
on chat
related to this, please drop them in the chat so that Pat can address them as we go through the topics. But yeah, go ahead. Let's move on to the next one. So AI-driven partner enablement, content development.
Actually, we're too far, a little far ahead of it.
Let's go for the profit enrichment first,
and then the last one. Yeah, so this one, this one's a good use case. I did, this was a project I've done for a client as well. And it's kind of a roll up of some of the ones we did previously, right? The value proposition builder, the IPP assessment. In this case, this is truly, I think pulls everything together. What I want to create with some of these AI tools and AI agents is literally an easy button. If you remember the old Staples commercial where, you just click the easy button and whatever you need shows up at your door. This is the same thing. I created an easy button within the CRM application, Zoho in this case, that my partner was using. So this is a, potential partner lead that came into the system, right? They filled out a form or downloaded something from the website. In this case, just an example, this is Accenture. I don't know anything about this partner at this point, or this potential partner. I've applied, we're at target stage, we're acquiring this partner. We know the account name and we know the website. That's about it. I added a button. It calls a webhook. It's actually going out to Zapier and running actually a fairly simple Zapier flow. It's basically updating or creating a record in Clay. And Clay is another tool that I really like that I think everybody should take a look at. It's really just a spreadsheet on steroids. It's got a ton of integrations where you can go out and pull data in. But really, from an agentic standpoint, an AI standpoint, you can create fields in your table that are LLM prompts. So in this case, I'm going out and I'm telling the LLM to scrape this website and pull out all of the partners that this potential partner for me already has listed on their website. So, as I'm evaluating a potential partner, really valuable for me to know who else are they partnering with. I'm doing this for their customers. Give me a list of the customers that they work with. Give me the target industries they're working towards. Take all of that and incorporate that not only in those data fields, but then take all that data that we've gathered and create that joint value proposition and the overview for the partner and the IPP score. So again, this is taking the first use case we had for the joint value proposition, the second use case, where we were evaluating against an IPP. This is rolling it all out into a single use case and literally a single button click. So it's going out there and it's really doing work for me. It's LLM amplified, right? We're using the clay tables to go out and do some deep research on these individual components and fields in my table. It's triggered as part of the workflow, right? It's literally a button in my CRM application. It didn't need me to go out and write a prompt. It didn't need me to swivel chair back and forth between a chat bot, cut and paste. It's doing significant work for me. It's doing a ton of research for me. It's creating the joint value proposition. It's creating the IPP score. And then it's generating output in the location and the format that's most valuable to me. In this case, it's loading it right back into the CRM application. So another good use case here.
I love it, but I think that it's super smart what you're doing about combining different tools that are super
Tools.
powerful just by their own, but then you're combining them, and also, well, Clay, it's really well known. It takes a little bit of learning curve, I believe, but
Yeah.
again, if someone wants this to be applied, I mean, Pat will definitely do it for you. So please feel free to reach out to Pat as well.
Well, the next easy button I'm adding here is create their record in Kiflo, right? So now this partner is ready to get loaded into
Nice.
my PRM, right? So now I'm going from the CRM to the PRM, and it's going to be a seamless easy button there as well.
Nice, nice. No, jokes aside, I mean, the product team will really appreciate that as well. And definitely there's something that it's coming probably in the future about integrating AI to the product as well.
Yeah, great. We'll be looking forward to it. The last example I wanted to run through is a little bit different take, really focused on partner enablement. Again, this was a client project that I did, different tool set here. Synthesia, really interesting tool. You can basically take text and turn it into video. And then Articulate is an LLM, or not an LLM, like too many L's, LMS, right? So a learning system that we're taking that AI generated video and creating learning content and putting learning content around it. So this is the Synthesia interface where I can create a layout, I can create a script, and I click a button and it generates the video content. It's a really great tool. It's getting better all the time. The videos are getting better. They're more lifelike. I can choose different avatars. I can choose different look and feel. And it's saving a lot of time and effort for me. We've done this a couple of different ways with some of my clients. One, we did real video where we went out and recorded speakers and incorporated that into learning content. The problem became is, well, when we had changes, when we wanted to change the content, we had to go out and get the talking heads again. We had to set up a video shoot. We had to record it. We had to, and it just took a lot of time. This is much easier for us to iterate on the content that we're putting together. So some people are going to say, well, I can tell it's AI generated. Yeah, it's fine, but the benefits I think far outweigh that experience. In that, if I want to change the message, if I want to change the flow, I can just come in, update the script, and click that button again, and it generates the video. And then I'm using that to create learning content for partners. So, it's LLM amplified, right? It's doing the job of creating that video content based on, some scripts that I've created, most likely through some LLM prompts as well. Is it triggered in the workflow? Yeah, because I'm actually sending this out to my partners. And that's part of the workflow. And they're coming in and they're going through this LMS content and they're viewing the video. And that's within a workflow as well. That's doing work for me, right? That could be a lunch and learn, right? Where I had to schedule my own time and go out and get a bunch of people on a call and do it. But it's scalable. I can send that out to a new audience every day and increase, my reach and engage with more people with this content than I could if I had to set up a call individually with each one, or if I had to schedule a bunch of lunch and learn. So it's doing a lot of work for me. And it's generating that output, right? I'm getting feedback from this as people are going through the learning content and engaging with the AI content, and they're giving me some feedback in terms of completing the courses and going through the process. So this is a little different use case, but one I find valuable as well.
That's perfect. But I
Amazing.
think that the scalability of this is the key point. I also tested Synthesis in the past, but certainly it's getting way better, right? I mean, like, I don't know what the feedback that you got from people that replied to you, but it seems like not all of people actually think that it's, or you can tell that it's an AI, right?
Yeah. And, again, it's getting better. The next thing I'm doing on that one is creating my own avatar. It'll actually take your likeness and voice and everything. And so I haven't played with
Wow.
that. I've been using most of the system generated ones, but that's kind of the next step there. Yeah, I know we're over, so hopefully folks can stick around for the next part of the
Yes, if you do
conversation.
have to jump, we will share the recording with you and also probably the deck with everyone. So if you need to drop, because we are aware of the time, if you can stay, that's perfect, and we can cover other questions that you have.
Yeah. So I want to cover a little bit about, what I'm keeping an eye on and, what I think comes next in this space. I don't know if you guys caught it. There was a memo leaked from Shopify earlier this week. And the gist of it was, we are not going to hire anyone at Shopify if we cannot prove that role can't be done by AI today. Right.
Wow.
So that's really putting a stake in the ground. And I think we're going to see, more and more of that. But it also puts responsibility back on everyone, not only at Shopify, but all of us, to be thinking about ways that we can leverage and use AI in our jobs. So I think everybody needs to be keeping an eye on these things and thinking about how AI can help you do things better, faster, and cheaper. Some things to keep up on. A lot of the big labs and the big AI providers are focused right now on desktop automation. I don't really focus on this a lot. I don't think it's, for me, in a B2B scenario, I don't think it's ideal, right, for the AI to take control of my browser and do things for me. I think much more interesting is going to be API based integration, and that's where the next thing to keep an eye on that's really starting to come up these days is this model context protocol. And this is the idea, is that you can put an AI wrapper or an API wrapper around the applications you're using, and then expose that to the chat interface or the voice interface. So if I want to give ChatGPT a request and say, hey, go send a Slack message to the Accenture rep that I'm working with on the Walmart deal, they will be able to do that in the future using the model context protocol, because they'll know what a deal is. They'll know that relates to the integration I've set up through MCP to my CRM tool. It knows what a rep is related to a deal, and it knows what Slack is because I've set up a connection through MCP to Slack. So getting to that next point where you're having a conversation with your chatbot and it's going out and using your tools in the background, I think that's coming really soon.
That's definitely the future, but I think that you nail it there. I mean, like combining stuff, but it's all going to be API driven, and then you're just going to put things together. Probably they'll talk to each other. I mean, that's the future.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think desktop automation to me is more, a B2C, thing. But when I'm using a bunch of tools, I mean, everything that I'm using today has an API. Kiflo's got an API that we can access, all of the other tools. So when you start to connect things at the API layer, that's where the model context protocol, and then you put a smart chat interface or a voice interface. I think that takes the next steps in
Yeah.
this. But if anybody has any questions, wants to follow up, connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to have a conversation around all this stuff
Please
and
do,
share
please do
any
reach
other
out to
experience.
Pat. I mean, like, again, thanks again for sharing all this, but I know that you also do it for clients, and you're kind of like in the cutting edge of actually integrating this to your workflows. So thanks for sharing that. I think that everyone will appreciate it. And again, if someone needs help with anything related to what Pat showed, please reach out to him on LinkedIn or let us know and we can put you in contact. Any kind of like thoughts or ideas or things that you want to mention to wrap it up, Pat?
Well, just wanted to see for you guys if any of this, touches home, and got some new ideas on how you want to leverage some tools.
Let's see. People are really liking what they seen today. I don't know if anyone has like a question or final thought for Pat before we dive insightful things.
They just love the content. Lots of practical use cases. Absolutely, I agree. Very practical,
Yeah,
very
again, I'm
useful.
not an
That's what we
AI
want
researcher, right? I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
no.
keep up with what's going on out there, and how I can leverage, these new technologies to help me, do my job better, help my clients, be more effective in their partner programs and ecosystems. And I think it gets really interesting from here on out. Maybe we'll get to the future where we're hiring teams and teams of AI agents, but I wanted to focus more on what's the state of art today, and practical applications.
Yeah, no, and kudos again. I agree with Danielle. You don't need to be a researcher or an AI in order to implement this. I completely agree with you, Pat. I mean, everyone should keep an eye on this and try to implement or at least test it out for whatever you do. I think that that's the new kind of like skills, like the knowledge. You need to be part of the wave, or if not, you'll get like swamped. But
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
yeah.
Cool. I think that we are on time. So again, I would like to really thank you on behalf of the Kiflo team, Pat. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for everything that you've shared. And Tom will be sharing the recording and also the deck that Pat showed today, right?
The recording, yeah, you'll get the recording once this is done automatically, and then we can share the deck with you as well.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. That was fun.
My
Thank
pleasure,
you,
and it's really nice. And again, for everyone that attended live, thank you so much. This is for you, and keep an eye on the next one. We have really great guests coming, so keep an eye on those.
Great.
And
perfect,
thanks.
awesome.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time, guys.
Bye
See
bye.
you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.